Party. You're welcome to another edition of our program. My name is Emmanuella, Asukwo, and today we'll be discussing on the topic red flags to look out for during courtship. And our guest for today is our very own, the Minister of the Word and Sacrament, the Minister Reverend Isong Akpan. He is a relationship counselor, a marriage counselor, as well as a psychologist. Today, he's going to educate us on what to look out for. What are those signs that we should look out for during courtship while we are dating, while we are in a relationship with that man or a woman. Kindly pay attention, share this video, watch us, and join us. Drop your questions in the comment section, and our guest will do justice to them. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good evening, sir. It's good to have you here once again.
Good evening, and good evening to our esteemed viewers. Just like we are here to just talk about the red flags to watch out during courtship. So it will be necessary to begin with what a red flag is. And we know that when we talk about red flag, we're just simply talking about signs that really spell danger. I said that let me quickly at this point in time mention those red flags, so to speak. But I want to say that before we quickly mention them one by one and possibly explain them briefly, it would be pertinent we go back to one of the serious points we raised the last time we had an opportunity of this nature. And the point was very critical, very serious. I was talking about understanding precisely the very primary essence for which God instituted marriage. And I have been saying this even in other places, because there is every need for people to be aware. Because the moment we are aware of the very primary purpose, it will guide us into taking good decisions, especially for those who are in courtship. Will help them to know exactly whether they should proceed or should not. It will guide people who want to go into it to understand whether they should go into it or should not go into it. So once we understand that very divine purpose of marriage, which has to do with God creating marriage as a platform for service unto Him, primarily, once we understand that, it will actually position us to really understand what to do, even in courtship. That will serve as a kind of, as a base, or let me say, as a very strong point of understanding of what we are looking for as we go into, or while we are in courtship. So if you are in courtship and you understand that you are about to go into marriage, and that marriage primarily is to serve the purpose of God. Please mind the way I choose my words. I say marriage primarily is to serve God's purpose here on earth. And once a man, once a woman, once someone understands that clearly, while in courtship, he will know exactly what he's looking for, what to look out for, even as signs that spell danger ahead in that relationship. So having said that, I would like us to understand that we are talking about knowing what you are looking for invariably, what will help you to succeed in marriage, without which you cannot really get it right. So there are many signs that people see at the initial stage. Like I said, I tried to mention at some point, but they ignore it for whatever reason. And so one of those signs is lack of spiritual compatibility. I know that people talk about, people try to argue the fact that we shouldn't talk about, or there shouldn't be any sense of compatibility in marriage. But I want to say that to a very great extent, there is need for compatibility in marriage, especially spiritually. Let me explain a little deeper what I'm trying to say. You know, before now I was saying that marriage primarily was set up by God as a platform for man and woman to serve God here on earth. And so if you, as a man, take for example, as a man you want to marry, and you've seen a girl, a lady, and you've been engaged to marry her, you're working, in courtship with her and all of that. And if you know that your whole life is to serve God, and that marriage is to serve God and serve the purpose of God on earth, you will not look for anyhow person. You must go for somebody who understands what you understand. The person might not be perfect, in as much as you're not perfect, because there's nobody who is perfect. But you definitely go for somebody you know is also pursuing the same goal. Somebody you know the focus is on serving God in that marriage. Okay? Here on earth. Serving God together with you. So that is what we talk about, having that sense of spiritual compatibility. That look, I understand that I exist to serve God with my wife. I exist to serve God in this marriage and the purpose of God here on earth. So I will not go pick any woman I like. If you are a woman, the same thing applies. You will not go pick any man you like. So when you start seeing somebody manifest some characteristics that do not align with that understanding, those characteristics that are manifested are red flags. They are terrible signs to watch out, to be careful. In fact, to understand that something is wrong somewhere. As obvious as that. So once you see that, you need to be careful. You need to be watchful. Okay, the next thing is selfishness and lack of love. Selfishness. You know what selfishness is? When somebody's, for me, I want to define selfishness to mean paying attention too much to yourself alone. Everything is about you. The other person, anyhow. When you pay too much attention to yourself alone, you don't care about what happens to the other person. It's a terrible sign to be careful. It's a very terrible sign to be careful of, because something is wrong somewhere. And as a matter of fact, it also shows lack of love. Because when love abounds, selfishness will not, but it wouldn't have any room, if I want to say so. Because sincere love has to do with sacrifice, commitment. You labor for yourself and for the other person too. Just like the Bible says, love the other person the way you love yourself. But when love is for yourself alone, and the other person, whatever happens doesn't count, it's not a problem, then it's a serious problem. And many people have been saying that, and yet they ignore and say, don't worry, with time he or she will change. Who told you? People don't change like that. Disrespect and lack of humility. Once you see somebody being so disrespectful, he doesn't have regard for. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. As a psychologist, we pay attention to little, we observe a number of things around us. I attended a marriage where, the man who just got married to a young lady, wanted to address the father-in-law right before, the guests and everybody around. He was calling the father-in-law as if he was calling his mate. But I looked at him. I just observed. I saw that look as based on my observation and understanding. I noticed that the young man, was a very young person. When you compare his age, in fact, if you guess his age and that of his his father-in-law, you discover that there's a remarkable difference. The father-in-law is far older. But he was addressing the man as if he was calling as if he was calling his mate. I wasn't comfortable with that. And I also noticed shortly after that the way he was shaking people. In our culture, you don't shake an older person with one hand. He was shaking people and not paying attention to age difference and all that, or differences and all of that. So I wasn't very comfortable with what I saw. You could read all over him arrogance, pride and all that. Very prideful human being.
Maybe he has money.
So even if he has money, so no matter what happens, even if with your money and wealth and all of that, disrespect, once it is noticed, is a big red flag. And many young girls, I want to mention girls at this point, who will see a man so disrespectful, yet they don't pay attention to it, maybe because of money or something. And sometimes they call it love when it is not actually love. Maybe I think out of lust. So they just conclude that this is a man. You can spot a disrespectful person anyway, anytime. In fact, enter the same keke with him or her, you see it. A little thing like shit for me, there's no space, you notice it. And so another thing is uncontrolled anger and violence. When you see somebody that cannot control his or her anger, somebody who cannot handle, by God's grace, his emotions or her emotions, you don't need to go into it. And these are things that cannot hide. They hardly can hide. People display, people manifest it, people show up these things, consciously and unconsciously. And so once you see it, you know, a situation where somebody tells you, I will slap you, and before you know it, the face is already, in fact, his face is something else. Even if he doesn't slap you immediately, they may say, if you don't shut that your dirty mouth up, I will slap you. Or the person shouts on top of his voice and all of that. You notice that this, and it happens regularly. You notice that this is a kind of lifestyle is in him or her. There's no point pushing in because clearly you have been shown that something is wrong somewhere. There's nothing like, hey, don't worry, everybody can, anger is natural, because when people are blind, like we normally put it, and they say the love is blind. When they are blinded, for me, I think they are always, I use the word, they are trapped into it with, what do you call it, what's it called? This petty gift from financial irresponsibility. Some people can be very irresponsible financially. They don't know how to manage finances, they throw money like, So be careful. They play, what do you call it? They play Naija. Bet Naija, that's how they call it. They play Bet Naija, play all the coupon and the rest of them. Sporty bet, all of them. Drink with money and all those things. Humanizes with money. He throws his money here and there. Or he buys things without, what do you call it? Budgeting and all of that. These are things you look at. I know sometimes people can be helped out of that one easily, but then you need to be careful because it could be a red flag to walk away. Okay, infidelity or unfaithfulness in the relationship. You notice somebody is with multiple partners. He has friends. If he's a girl, he has many boyfriends. If he's a boy, he has many girlfriends. And sometimes these things are revealed to you. You ask and they deny. They give excuses. They try to paint it and all of that. Some of them go as far as swearing that they have never done anything, of the sort. So these are signs that once you see, you know that something is wrong.
But the society has just adopted that men are promiscuous in nature.
It's a very wrong understanding. Very, very wrong understanding. It comes from the world system. People must give excuse as to why they do what they do. It's very natural. So, honestly speaking, God didn't create it to be like that. God didn't create it. So, even if one cannot meet up with God's standard, he or she should be able to accept the fact as to how God put things. Do you understand? We need to face the reality and say, this is how God, made it to be. Even if I cannot meet up with it, but I know that this is. So there's no need coming to, tell us men are like people will put it, not in your own way. That's how they put it. Without brocide. It's a very wrong understanding. We should not accept it. Honestly speaking. Why you say men cannot do without brocide? There are men, by God's grace, who can do without it.
Yet to see one.
They are there. There are men who can do without it. So as far as the truth is concerned, you must understand that if if there are men who do it, there are also men who don't do it, because things must come, things have opposite. Things come in pairs, is it not true? So you have one this side, have the other one the other side. Even when they are not men, they are there.